I guess that's recording. I don't even know. I don't really use OBS, but anyway. Cracked has this video out. It's relevant to my interest in some way, I guess. 5 ways gamers are holding back the games they love. Let's see why I'm a bad person today. Where's the play button? Let's do it. Stupid logo. 5 things gamers must admit to themselves. That's not the title of the video. You lied to me.
I'm Crack Senior Editor Josh Sargent, and I'm here to talk about video
Hey jackass, I'm Trigger Wolf. I'm here to make fun of you.
games. Specifically to say that we let them down, guys.
We let video games down? What?
They were supposed to be the future. Interactive storytelling was supposed to surpass movies as the new art form of a new generation, but we won't let it.
We won't let video games be better than movies. Arguably, video games are better than movies now. I mean, I can say that I like the stories of a lot of video games more than I like the story of a lot of movies. Really, to be honest.
Holding them back because you can't admit that the level of violence in video games is smearing banana
So it's the violence that's holding the video games back.
paste on your chest and calling yourself the king of France insane. Look, game bros and game ladies.
Game bros and game ladies. That's stupid terminology. You're stupid.
I don't think violence in video games is a bad thing. I just think it's weird that it's the only thing.
Violence in video games is not the only thing.
4 of the 5 best-selling games of 2015 are just about.
Technically, Madden also has violence in it. It's just a different sort of violence. It used to kill a lot of people before they changed it to add more safety to the game. Just so that you're aware of football. Granted, it's a lot better now, but people still die in football through concussions and shit like that. Concussions, by the way, from a violent tackle or, I don't know, a headshot or something. Shit happens in football. People die. As far as these other things go, Fallout 4 is not just about killing people. You can do tons of other shit that has nothing to do with killing people. Like base building and talking to people and being part of the world. Star Wars Battlefront and Call of Duty are both arena shooter type games, so of course they're all about violence. That's the point.
Killing people. And when I say about, I mean the reason we play these games is so we can pretend to kill people.
The reason you play these games is so you can pretend to kill people. It's not the reason why I play Fallout 4, to be honest. I wanted to experience the story. I wanted to see what the hell was going on.
With guns, specifically. Because we don't want any innovation getting between us and scratching our murder it.
Who says gun games can't be innovative? They can be.
One Twitter user pointed out that at the 2000...
One Twitter user, by the way, is Jonathan McIntosh. You know, he was one half of Feminist Frequency at one point, making like all the scripts or some shit. This guy is the reason... Everybody hates this guy because most of the shit he says is just... It's like sexist. Everything is sexist compared to... well, according to this guy. Not compared to him, but according to him. If you're a straight white male, you are sexist and you should kill yourself or some shit. I don't know.
2016 E3 Gaming Expo, 89% of the games shown were about solving problems with violent retribution. And
because that shit's fun. You play games to have fun. You don't play a game to be bored as fuck, you know? Let's read some of these. Let's see. He has a V punchable face. I'm not gonna lie, he kinda does. I'd punch it. I don't care about radical bites' political ideology. I care about debunking intellectually dishonest statements. Yeah. Did he complain about the grass being green and how it symbolizes racism this time? He might as well have. McIntosh doesn't believe in free markets or allowing people free will. No, of course not. You can't buy that shit. If you buy that shit, you're a terrible person. And not just because you enjoy playing games that have nothing to do with real life. Let's go.
people lost their shit at him just for saying that. Why? He's literally doing math. That's gaming. If
Violence.
anybody watching isn't
Violence. Math isn't gaming, by the way. At least not to me. That's just boring. If I had to do math in my video games, I'd probably quit.
into Gamesfolk, and if so, rude. I want to point
He just said Gamesfolk. What is this terminology? Like, where does this come from?
out that games can do a lot of stuff that isn't murder. There's The Sims.
You can murder in The Sims.
There's Minecraft.
You can murder in Minecraft.
That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
How about Undertale? You don't have to murder. It's actually encouraged that you don't murder and experience the game in a different way. There's Tetris. There's no violence in that game. The Wii Sports doesn't really have violence in it, I guess. There is punching, but that's like boxing. That's like a game. That's like a real sport.
But we gamers still choose to spend our gaming dollar almost exclusively on recreations of the most f***ed up we see in the news.
Do you want to know why that we spend our money on violent stuff like that? It's because it's fun, and that we can't do it in real life because, you know, a lot of us don't want to spend the rest of our lives either dead or in jail. So a video game where we get to just have fun and unwind and just not think for a while and escape reality is something that's attractive to a lot of people, to be honest. Because, you know, how many people get to go to hell and then murder demons, right? And by that I mean Doom.
Now look, I enjoy casual violence as much as I enjoy cigarettes or toilet hooch, but of course it's weird.
It's weird to enjoy violence. It's weird to be a fan of wrestling or UFC or boxing. That's weird, really? No, not really.
When we pretend it doesn't look weird, that just makes us look more weird.
I guess it'd be weird if you enjoyed watching people knife each other. That'd be kind of weird, but even then, if it was phrased like a game of some type, then it wouldn't be that weird anymore. It's just... It's not that weird. It's like paintball. People go paintballing. They're shooting each other with paintball guns, with paintball markers. It's a game. That's basically how I treat Call of Duty, like I'm playing paintball. You know, I'm not treating it like I'm actually murdering somebody and shooting them in the head, and their head is exploding all over the back wall behind them. No, I'm treating it more like paintball. That's just to be brutally honest, you know.
Compare these games to the top 5 highest-grossing movies.
Star Wars was one of the games. Fast and Furious is almost exactly like Grand Theft Auto, only in movie form. Avengers, you can say, is pretty much just like any fighting game. And Minions? Okay, Minions.
2015. It's still mostly violence, but at least it's different kinds of violence. We have
lightsabers, laser swords, or whatever he's going to say, exists in Battlefront, I'm pretty sure.
Laser sword fights, dinosaur fights, car and gun fights.
How is this different from Grand Theft Auto?
Superhero fights, and I didn't see Minions, but I assume there's some graphic torture.
I didn't see Minions, but I assume they go around shanking each other all the time.
Or something. I get it, though. This is a sensitive topic for a lot of people because we remember a time when people were trying to make video games not a thing anymore.
He's going to say Jack Thompson in a second. He literally tried to get video games banned. Or at least the violent ones, like Grand Theft Auto and any shooter game. He was literally going to court, and he was literally trying to fight for these games to be banned. He wanted these games to be gone. He didn't want them to exist anymore.
In the 90s, there was serious discussion about whether or not games were causing all the problems in the world and needed to be banned for...
Serious discussion. He wanted... Jack Thompson... This was Jack Thompson's idea. If you went out and bought Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty or whatever, you were playing a murder simulator and it was desensitizing you to murder. His idea was that the military was giving its soldiers these games so that they would feel less remorse when they pulled the trigger and kill somebody. Therefore, kids at home would be trained in the very same way, you know, playing the very same games or whatever, so they could go out and do these mass shootings, right? That was Jack Thompson's his stance. That's what he was literally trying to, you know, get banned and stuff. We have the ESRB ratings for a reason, you know.
Forever. Or at least it seemed that way to us because we were kids and didn't realize that these kinds of controversies happen like once a decade.
Yeah. It looks like you're just going to be the next one here. What part of history are you going to be on? You're going to be part of the irrelevant one, apparently.
And always end up being as ephemeral and meaningless as, say, Pierce
Ephemeral and meaningless.
Morgan. But today, we spend $25 billion a year on video games. $25 billion.
Sweet. That means there's going to be more money to make more awesome games, right?
That's 4 times more than we spend on guns, and look at how powerful the gun industry is.
Yeah, look how powerful that violence industry is. Just like the other violence industry that we're playing in video games in right now.
We're an important part of the economy now. So at the risk of sounding cynical, even if scientists wearing lab coats and speaking in European accents...
European accents is irrelevant.
Sense conclusively proved that video games caused real-world violence, they probably still wouldn't take them away.
Well, alcohol does a lot of terrible shit to people, but, you know, we tried taking it away at one point. Spoilers, it didn't work out very well. Did you know that there was also a video games, or rather a games ban? Pinball for a long time was banned in a lot of places. It came back because, you know, a lot of people saw that it wasn't a gambling thing anymore, and that it was actually like a skill-based thing.
Because gaming is expensive enough now to be a rich people hobby, and rich people hobbies can be literally anything.
Gaming has gone so cheap that it can actually be like a poor people's hobby too. You can literally go to Steam right now because it's a Steam sale. It's always a Steam sale at some point, and buy games for less than $5. It can be an anybody hobby, I guess.
We're safe. Who cares? So let's just go full punk rock and admit that gaming is super
How? Like, I don't see games as super fucked at all, you know? I see it going in a good direction right now.
The anger thing probably isn't a coincidence. Already, I know that some of...
What anger thing? The anger thing probably isn't a coincidence. With the anger thing?
You were questioning whether I'm a true gamesman. So let me be...
Gamesman. What are these terms? Gamesman, Gamesfolks, Game Bros, Game Ladies. How about just gamers? You know, you're basically just saying that anyway.
Be clear here and say that my gamer cred is unfucking impeachable.
If you have to talk about your gamer cred like that, you probably don't have any and you're just making shit up. You know how you show your gamer cred? By actually going out onto the battlefield and showing your skill, you know?
When I learned the true meaning of loyalty and friendship, it wasn't because some friends and I discovered a dead body in the woods. It was from Minx in Baldur's Gate and his unwavering devotion to Boo the miniature giant.
When you overlay a sound on top of another sound, it makes it very hard to listen to your own goddamn point. I'm just saying. If you really wanted to show what was going on here, why not just put a picture here about what was actually going on instead of talking over another sound that's just as loud as you are?
Space hamster, so step up. And yet,
space hamster,
despite this
step
obvious
up,
pedigree, I still don't like to call myself a gamer because that word...
No, but you'll call yourself a games folk or a games bro or a gamesman. Because gamer it's just a bad word, but games folk is perfectly fine.
Word seems less associated with video games and more associated with being a dick on the internet. In fact, Google literally autocompletes the word gamer to Gamergate, which was an internet harassment campaign with ties to white supremacy groups.
Gamergate, as far as I can understand, was a bunch of people saying, I'm sick and tired of being lied to. I'm sick and tired of all of this collusion happening in video games where a video game can basically bribe a reviewer into giving them really good scores when they don't deserve it. This is why I've never really trusted reviews from anybody, really. Because everybody has a bias. This can be like a really great game, but if there's that one thing you don't like in it, it kind of taints everything else. It's basically why I stopped listening to reviews in the first place. But now, in addition to that, I can't even trust reviews because now they're being bought off, or they're in a personal relationship with the developer and all that stuff. It's stupid, and I hate it, and I don't want anything to do with reviews anymore, or people reviewing shit anymore. That to me was like what Gamergate was about. It's not about white supremacist group. What? There's black people in the Gamergate community, like movement thing. I've seen them. They're YouTubers. It's not white supremacy. You're dumb and stupid.
So just searching for my hobby on the internet puts me 3 clicks away from being on yet another government watch list.
I was going to ask, what are the government watch list are you on? And why would gaming make you part of a watch list? Sergeant is bioengineering a slave army in his basement. That's the first watch list. I guess the gamer is the second one. And what, are you a gun owner too? So is that like the third one? Move on, please.
I can also tell you anecdotally that writing about video games
anecdotal evidence means nothing.
Attracts way more internet hate than writing about anything else. Compare the comments under a "this movie is sexist" article to the "this video game is sexist" article on literally any website.
as far as I understand it, there are more people that play video games than people that go out and watch movies. That may or may not be true, but when you say like this video game is sexist, and you list and you go and find the very, very specific moments where it might have like a lady in a skimpy bikini or something like that, a lot of people go, so it's not hurting anybody. It's not hurting women. It's not hurting anybody. Who cares? Like they're pixels.
And you'll see the difference. Also, everybody knows this. Even Reddit. At a certain
Alright, hold on, wait. Originally, when I had recorded this video, I was going through these topics one by one and kind of talking about how the competition itself was what was causing the anger and not the game. But then I noticed during a replay that this is the Angry Gamers board. And from the looks of it, not a very popular board. I mean, let's look at it for a second. Overwatch Salt collection. 13 days ago at the time of this recording, 1 comment. Swedish streamer goes insane, mother tries to calm him down. 1 month ago, 1 comment. Now, if this was such a huge problem, don't you think this board would be more active? Don't you think there would be more videos, more comments, more recent activity? I mean, just look at this garbage. There's nothing going on here. It's like you were so hard to find just these couple of examples that you just pulled anything that you could. This is dishonest. Alright, back to the video.
point, that's not a coincidence. And that certain point was 6 years ago, and people started advertising to us using our inability to control our temper as their gimmick. Anyway.
No. I remember that commercial, and that commercial was about a guy spending $60 on a game and only getting like $3 back for it, right? That pisses me off. Like, if I buy a game 1 week and the next week it's only $3 for a trade-in, that would make me mad. That would make me actually mad that I spent all that money and now it's worthless. You know, that's what Gamefly was saying, is that you don't have to buy the games. You can just rent it and give it back and then rent something else cheaper than buying the games. It's not the games that are pissing us off. It's the fact that we're getting ripped off. Being ripped off is what causes the anger, not the video games themselves.
Games. Mostly about killing. Gamers. Mostly mad all the time.
Games mostly about killing. No. There are plenty. Some of the top 10 games don't even have anything to do with killing. Some of the number 1 selling game is Tetris. The number 2 selling game is like Wii Sports. And the third one is Grand Theft Auto. Ooh, you got 1 of 3 there. But if you keep going down the list, like Diablo 3 is number 9 or something like that. And everything in between is like Wii Sports, Super Mario, or Tetris. None of those things are actually violent.
Maybe a link. Not a crazy idea. So here's our opportunity to be better than most professional sports and tackle an obvious problem head on before anybody gets hurt. We don't actually care about story.
I do. Speak for yourself. I care about the story.
I've read hundreds, probably, of articles about why video game stories are so bad.
Video game stories are so bad because they're always written half-assed. It generally takes a backseat to the gameplay itself, because the gameplay itself is why you play video games, to have fun playing the video game. But to me, a story is just as important as the video game itself, which is why I don't like a whole lot of video games anymore. Metal Gear Solid was always one of my favorite series. It blended gameplay and story pretty well, in my opinion. Lately, I've been playing Batman, which interrupts gameplay for story, or something like that, you know. Assassin's Creed has a lot of story, but again, it interrupts the gameplay and having fun just to talk at you for 5 minutes at a time. Badly, I might add, because Assassin's Creed has a really big problem with quality nowadays, because they keep rushing out games without them actually being done, and that's annoying. That's the shit that I get angry at, when games are not finished when I buy them. Like I said, I'd rather put a game in my system and expect it to work perfectly than have the game and have it not work. What's the most important thing about playing a video game? Well, being able to actually fucking play it.
Why, the articles ask. Why are they so bad? I'll tell you. It's because we gamers, you and me, don't give a f***. It's not why we play.
Speak for yourself, buddy. Like I said, I like the story in a video game. I'd rather play a video game with a story, which is why RPGs exist.
And it never has been, and it never will be.
Except for the fact that RPGs exist.
The stories don't matter to us.
Except for when RPGs exist.
Now, games have good stories. Last of Us has a cool story, and if you watch all the cutscenes on YouTube, it's a pretty good movie. In fact, you could make the argument that that's the best way to enjoy The Last of Us.
No. I think experiencing The Last of Us the way it is how you enjoy the game, right? There's a lot of shit in between the cutscenes that happen. Like, there's a lot of nuances and shit going on while you play. It's not just the videos themselves.
Story. Want proof? I'm making that argument right now. You just got told, welcome to the internet, I am your god. Anyway, I gotta spoil this game for you. You spend most of The Last of Us as a big tough man named Joel protecting Ellie, a young girl. At the end, you find out that the
Joel is only a tough man in that he has to be physically tough for the gameplay factor of the game. Otherwise, he's actually a pretty emotional dude. You know, he's always thinking about his daughter. He's always thinking about his family and whatever that he lost along the way. And ultimately, he sees Ellie as kind of his daughter. You know, he wants to protect her because he has feelings for her, like a father-daughter type of thing. And that's the main draw to the character, is that he's more human than most other characters out there. That's the point.
only way to cure the world's zombie problem is to kill Ellie. But Joel can't let that happen, and he kills a bunch of scientists.
Okay, how did they want to kill Ellie? Have you thought about that? They have to... She's a living person, and it's a moral choice that Ellie has to die in order to save everyone else, because the cure is in her brain. She has to die to save everybody.
This escapes with Ellie and lies to her about what happened. For the ending to work emotionally, like as a story, you have to believe that Joel sees Ellie as vulnerable and feels a responsibility to protect her. And yet, she's invincible during the entire game. She can't get hurt or even seen by enemies, because if they could see her, the whole game would have been a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, but the thing about The Last of Us is that gameplay was almost like an afterthought to The Last of Us, which is why a shit like crafting exists. Crafting arguably breaks the story of the game too. I mean, in The Last of Us world, gameplay and story are kind of two separate things. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy both at the same time, you know? I enjoy the story, I enjoy the game. I think they're both fun.
So, a game can't compromise the fun for the sake of the story, even when the game's main appeal is the story. Why? Because we just want to beat people to death with a baseball bat.
It's not true. Generally, I want to get through the gameplay parts so I can get to more story. But I also want to have fun doing that, right? If I just had to slog through the gameplay to get to the all-important story, I wouldn't have fun. I would probably just quit playing the game because I couldn't be asked to play the game to get to the movie part, you know? The game has to be equally as fun as the story itself.
Again, no judgment, because that's awesome, but that's still why we're playing. And the thing is, if we don't like a game's story that gets in the way of the gameplay, that means we don't actually care if games are art or not. Remember when Roger...
Huh? What? Okay, let's go back a second or two.
That means we don't actually care if games
a little bit more.
we're playing. And the thing is, if we don't like a game's story that gets in the way of the gameplay, that means we don't actually care if games are art or not.
If we don't like the story getting in the way of the gameplay, that means we don't care if games are art or not. One thing I've never really understood is why a game has to be art. Why can't there be artistic games, and why can't there be fun games to play that isn't, you know, snotty and stuck up art pieces, right? Why can't they both exist simultaneously? Why can't I just play a fun game? Furthermore, I think parts of the game itself can be art too. The music in a video game could be really, really fucking good. That's an artistic medium, music. The visual effects and all that stuff, all the art and the concepts and all that stuff can be its own form of art too. You know, it doesn't have to be all artsy, all on its own, you know?
When Roger Ebert said that video games could never be art, we got all mad for that stupid old man because he doesn't even play video games.
I think video games aren't art in and of themselves. I think they're more of an amalgamation of art, and I think that's where he was going with that. But as an art piece itself, I don't think so. Unless it's like an art game itself, I don't know. It's a fine line, I think. I think it's all opinion based, and this guy's a jackass because his opinion is stupid.
And then remember how we spent the next decade doing nothing to prove him wrong? Yes, video games.
We've spent the next decade doing nothing to prove that video games are art. I'd argue that Metal Gear Solid would be considered almost a movie. It has a lot deeper story than most movies have because it has the time to do so, you know? It has the time for character developments that normally wouldn't happen in a movie, and like an artistic reason for things to happen. We've been there. We are there. We've been there for a long time.
It can be art, and there are a ton of incredibly talented artists working in the industry, but we don't care. And
we don't care that there are incredibly talented artists working in the games industry. Again, if people like Harry Gregson Williams, who made the music for Metal Gear Solid, if he didn't exist and didn't make the music for the game, it arguably wouldn't be as good as it was. He was incredibly good at making music that fit the theme of the game. So, no, if there was no music because there were no artists making the music, it wouldn't be the same.
when we pretend to, we sound like a teenager explaining that watermelon vodka is actually good liquor. Look, maybe Destiny has a rich and evocative mythology, but that's not what keeps people
Apparently it does. It's just all outside of the game, which is another thing I don't like about Destiny.
signing in every week. They're just doing that to get their fat loot so they can fight the tougher monster, and that, my friends, is different.
It's an RPG. You're doing that so you can build yourself a better gear set so that you can progress through the game. That's what you do in an RPG. That's what you do in an American RPG. A JRPG is much different. A JRPG is more about the story of the game.
That's the designer putting us in a Skinner box and getting us addicted to simulated accomplishments.
Yeah. That's probably the most true thing he said all day.
I'm not sure what emotional truth you can get out of spending all day leveling up, but I do know that almost every video game review I've ever read has talked about whether the game hooks you and its replay value. Look, if we really
Obviously the game hooks you, right? Because there's a lot of people playing it, and a lot of people continue to play it and buy its stupid expansion packs. I don't like Destiny, because to me it fails as an RPG, the RPG that it wants to be, and it's just the Skinner box. You shoot things, a shiny purple orb thing pops out, and you get it, and it's sometimes the thing you want, and sometimes not the thing you want, so you keep farming these things, and that's literally what a Skinner box is. All right, we're going to keep going.
really cared about art, we wouldn't have reacted to Mass Effect 3's ending by demanding that they patch it in a way that lets
If we didn't care about art, we wouldn't demand them patching the game. You know how bad this thing was? This ending? Basically, it didn't matter what ending we picked. It all ended the same exact way, right? The fact that we cared about art was the reason why we wanted this changed. We wanted to feel like the things that we did mattered in the game. And it didn't when the game was released. It did not matter.
us fulfill our power fantasy. And we wouldn't have created a petition to get a review of Uncharted 4 removed because we disagreed with it. Because a big part
I don't know about that Uncharted thing, but I just assume it was some jackass going like, I don't like this game, therefore it sucks. You know?
of art is personal interpretation, not consensus. Demanding consensus is actually one of the most anti-art things you can do. So, if being fun and distracting is all it takes for something to count as art, then Jerry Springer counts as art.
Jerry Springer counts as art. Depends on if the stories are actually crafted or if they're actually like real things or not. It could be an art piece in that it isn't real and that it's somebody's interpretation of just a human being and humans doing what humans do and being dicks to each other, you know? If it was created, yeah, it's art. If it's not created and it's just a reaction, no, it's not so much art anymore.
And professional wrestling and making
Professional wrestling is art. I don't know if you know this, but all that shit is written beforehand. In order to social engineer and all that shit. That's just how it is.
list-based comedy videos for the internet. And just as an aside, Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima also thinks that games aren't art, and he's the
Alright, so I had to do some research on my own to see if what he just said about Kojima is true or whether he thinks it's art or not. And, you know, after reading this section right here about his work being in the Smithsonian, I think he more or less agrees with me in that he thinks that video games are a collection of art. like a collaboration of art more than it is art himself. To read what he said real quick, he says, "To me, games are a collaborative art, like I just said, or a synthesis of various things. Technology, story, and art. I think games take a lot of these various elements and combine it into a whole, but unlike traditional art or music, it's not something where the creator's vision can be conveyed completely 100% to the user. It's something that has to go through the medium, and it's something that has limitations within the scope of the service that's being provided to the consumer. In that respect, I still don't think games are maybe not fully art in that sense, but of course, at the same time, I'm very, very happy to see my games in the Smithsonian Institution. I'm very happy that this is taking place. To put it in perspective, the service game creators provide is sort of like Disneyland, a setting for players to have fun in. If you look at each part of that service, break down the parts, and then you'll see that each part is comprised of artistic elements. But on the whole, it's more of a service than an art. To me, I'm sort of taking away from this that he thinks that it's more of a collaboration of arts than anything else. He's happy that his work is being seen itself as an artistic piece, but he still thinks that it's more of a service than an art, which, I kind of fall in the same category. I've been saying this whole time, so that's just what I think about this. Okay, let's continue on with that video, this stupid video.
And just as an aside, Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima also thinks that games aren't art, and he's the guy who allowed me to create the most beautiful moment I have ever seen on a TV screen.
He thinks... I don't think that's true. No, I don't think that's true. I think this is the most beautiful thing you ever put on a screen. Really, this garbage here.
Video games are not relaxing.
Depends on what video games you're playing.
When you talk to people about video games and bring up the stuff I've brought up, the violence, the lack of attention to story, the argument often becomes that they are a stress reliever. They're relaxing. You feel pent-up rage, and then you play video games, and you feel relaxed. The truth is, that's not how anger, stress relief, or relax.
If I'm having a terrible day, and I just want to take my mind off a terrible day, and I just had nothing better to do, right? I'd probably kick on Left 4 Dead just because the zombies are just ridiculously easy to kill. And it's satisfying to throw a grenade and watching them all pile on the grenade and then blow up into a bunch of blood and guts everywhere. It's satisfying. It's stress relief. It's not a thing that causes more stress. I mean, granted it can be, but I don't know. Where are you going with this?
Station work. When you indulge in a violent video game fantasy, you're stimulating your brain but not your body in such a way that it not only exacerbates the frustration and anger, but associates frustration and anger with aggression in a way that is unhealthy in the long term because aggression is unhealthy.
See, I think he's being a little bit dishonest here because he's not really talking about which games, which violent games, because not all violent games are built the same, The most you can say is that competition itself causes aggression and that competitive games will do that to people. But, if you're already having a bad day, why would you go and play a competition game and get yourself even more pissed off? If that's your thing, hey, that's your thing. But, for me, I wouldn't do that. However, I would go and play something like Dead Rising or Left 4 Dead or whatever. See, I like zombie games because they're non-people, and you could be as violent as you want to non-people. Those games are meant for you to have silly fun with, right? You're running around with a wheelchair, and the zombie falls on it. Now you're running with the zombie in the wheelchair, pushing other zombies out of the way and whatever. Or in Left 4 Dead, you're tossing a pipe bomb, watching like 100 zombies gather, and then it blows up into a million bite-sized fun pieces of zombie, That to me is fun. That to me is what mellows you out and relieves your stress. Not so much the competition violence of Call of Duty, Battlefield, Overwatch, or whatever,
Look, I know the research is conflicted. And yes, I know who Craig Anderson and Christopher Ferguson are. If you don't Google it, it's boring. But if you put that aside, then you already know the truth. So let's just be honest. Games can be exciting and exhilarating and infuriating, but they're not relaxing. None of
Which video games are there's more than just violent video games out there, right? Do Do you know this as a quote unquote gamesman? You know that there's non-violent video games out there that you can actually sit down and relax and play Pokemon or Tetris or other stupid shit like that. You can do that and you can relax while playing a video game. Playing a violent video game depends on the medium, right? If you're playing a really hard game, then yeah, it's infuriating. But if you're playing a silly game like Left 4 Dead and you're just throwing grenades in the middle of zombies just to watch them explode, then that's a little bit more satisfying, I think.
None of us have ever drifted off to sleep playing Mario. We may have passed out face down on our keyboard playing EverQuest, but it's kind of different. Games are designed to be addictive. We sound like junkies when we say we find them relaxing and that they relieve our stress. Like we just need a hit of Call of Duty to take the edge off.
Like I said, refer to my last point.
So let's be honest. There's nothing wrong with saying that you play them for fun. There's nothing wrong with saying that we like ripping a demon's head in half because we're broken inside.
Why do you have to be broken inside to like ripping a demon's head off? Why can't that just be fun? Why can't that just be not realistic and just fun? Something fun to do.
I mean, it's better than admitting we're addicted to something.
Alright, well, this guy was an idiot, and it was hard to sit here and watch this garbage for half an hour, or however long I've been recording. So, let me know what you guys think in the description. Good luck doing that. In the comments, just shut up, phone. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to cut off this thing and put my own background, whatever, so whatever. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.